This is part 3 and the final part of the 5-hour baby sweater. I'm showing you this completed one first to show you that I did use the safety pin like I spoke about all the way down to the sleeve, and I did the little bumps, and I did a 1x1 rib to make it, a little smaller. You don't have to do that. You can just do like I showed on some of the other ones where it's just a garter stitch, or it's just a 1x1 rib. You can make it in any variations, whichever way you like. There's several different variations out on the internet, but I just want to show you what it looked like when it was with the markers. And here this is where you would sew up the sleeves. That's why I asked you to leave a long tail when you first did your 2-stitch cast on for your sleeve. That way you have more than enough yarn to sew up your sleeve. All right, now we go to the next set. The next part is we are going to join the body or the front to the back and pick up the stitches on the sleeve. I forgot to do the 2 cast-ons on this side of my sleeve, so I'm just going to fudge it. No one will know the difference. But if you notice on the other one, I do have my 2 stitches here. Guess I should bring this a little closer together, closer up, and the 2 stitches here. I will knit the entire way, so you'll be able to see it twice. And this is where I said leave a long tail to the beginning, because you want to be able to knit all the way across here and through the sleeve before you attach your other yarn. That way you don't have your attachment here on the edge and you have to weave it in. It's better to do it back here. And I'll show you how I do it. I don't do it the way you're supposed to. They always say no knots in knitting, but when it comes to baby jackets, I like to do knots in knitting because they're going to be really worn a lot. They're going to be thrown in the washer. So every little bit of protection for unraveling, I'll do it. So we start off by knitting all the way across. Now I know you know how to knit, so I don't have to take my time and show you. There are videos out there on how to knit and how to purl. You go all the way to the end of the front. This is the left front, because being on a circular needle, you just keep going around from this left front to the back to the right front. I'm almost to the sleeve. 2 more stitches. And I'm also getting short on my thread too, so I'll show you how to join. So you want to pick up the first stitch. Let's see, maybe I can make it a little bit bigger so you can see the stitches a little better. Okay, you pick up the first stitch, your first cast on, and knit it. Pick up your second cast on and knit it. Like I said, this I forgot to do it, so I'm just going to pick up the 2 stitches right here on this edge. Right here and right here. And then I can get 1 or 2 more here. That's about it. Then you pick up your other thread. I have to use blue. When a good idea to show you how it works. Knit the first stitch, or the next stitch in line, and then continue on. I will show you how I finish off once I get back to it. Let me bring it back down a bit. Let's see, it doesn't have to be quite that big now. All right, so now we'll do this. I forgot to mention that all the sizes are made with the worsted weight yarn. What decides whether it's a newborn or a 6-month is the size of your needle. A size 7 needle will give you a newborn size. A size 8 needle will give you a 3 to 6 month size. A size 9 needle will give you 6 to 9 months, and a 10 or 10.5 will give you from 9 months to a year. Each one you make will be a little bit looser than the previous one. I'll show you that at the end of the video, because I do have one on a size 10 or 10.5, and then of course this one was done on an 8, and you'll be able to see the difference. But I'm almost to the other sleeve. Let me get all the way across. reason I'm going to all the way across this time is I wanted to give you a second look-see at the picking up of the stitches in the underarm gusset. Now this pattern is also similar to the star stitch baby jacket pattern that's I had done several years ago. It's basically done the same way except for the decorative bumps on the top half. Okay, here's my 2 stitches where I did my cast on. So I pick up 1 and I pick up 2. Now this time you pick up the first one and you end with the second one because you want to do the edge first because that way you can sew your 2 ends together. So pick up that one, then pick up this one. Now if you're not exactly perfect, being under the arm, it really doesn't show. The more you do it, the better it gets, the easier it gets. So don't give up on your first try, keep on going. Practice makes perfect, especially in knitting. And there's no right way or wrong way to knit. Whichever way works for you and you get the gauge and the size and the pattern correct, you knit it perfectly. So I'm just about to the end. Yep. Now when you go back the other way, you still knit the first 3 stitches. You have to keep up the garter stitch that you're using as your band, or 5 stitches if you're making a button band where you have 3 buttons going down the front of it, or you can do more buttons if you want. It's entirely up to you how many buttons you want to put on it. You just have to remember to keep them all properly spaced. And the good way to keep them spaced is count the ridges. So if you have 10 ridges from the buttonhole here, you do your next buttonhole after ridge 10, and then you count 10 more ridges, each of these little rows of bumps. All right, now this time we're going to knit the first 3, just like we have been doing throughout the entire project. I got a little pink caught in that one. Okay, now yarn over. I mean, not yarn over, but bring the yarn to the front because all the stitches on this side will be purled. I like to go all the way back. That way I can show you how I finish off the 2 tails where I had to join the new yarn. Sometimes my fingers get in the way. I try very hard to keep them out of the way when I can. But since this is just a basic purl, if my fingers kind of get in the way a bit, it shouldn't really affect your seeing how I do it. Now at any point during the video you want to pause it, you can if you're kind of knitting along with me. Okay, now I don't know why that's extra long, but it's probably because I pulled it. Okay, you knit this one, and then you knit that one. Now you're at the center of the sleeve. You want to purl this one, and you purl that one just like you did on the first 2. And you keep going across. It stretches out a little bit because it is the sleeve, but as you knit it, it will ease itself back in and they will all look uniform. So don't worry about it if they stretch out a little bit. Just about back to my beginning where I changed connected the new color. Now when you go to those 2 stitches, they're going to be very stretched out and long. Don't worry about that. That's what happens when you join a new piece of thread. It's after you've finished going across it that you're able to secure it, and it won't be big anymore because you just pull it tight, because that's what I'll do when I get to that spot. And I'm almost there now. And you'll be able to see how big the stitches will get and how small they'll get once I finish them off. Like I said, I like to do a knot on this particular join because it's a baby sweater. And I'll show you how to do a square knot and when to put the glue in. Now, as you see, this one is getting kind of big, which is not uncommon. So you go ahead and just do it. And then you can tuck it back down. Same with this one. After you do it, you can tug it back down. And then continue to the end. Now I'm back to the other sleeve. And just purl each stitch as you do throughout the body. And we'll see how that looks once we get back to the beginning and I flip it over. You'll be able to see that everything just kind of slides in together. Just about there. I won't do another row because the next will just be a standard knit across in stockinette, because the rest of this body will be done strictly in stockinette stitch until you get to the decorative border, and that's when you repeat what you did on the yoke. Okay, now we're down to the last 3 stitches, so we'll do 3. There. And you can see here where the joint is, it's a little big. But that's okay. What you do next is tug a little bit. You do the right tail over the left and pull it through and give a light tug. Then check the front and make sure the stitches are uniform. And then you would put a drop of glue right here, and then you do left over right and tighten it. And then once it's super tight and the glue is dry, it just takes a minute or so, then you can cut them off right at the edge of the knot, and you'll never see the knot because it's under the arm. That's the reason why I do it there. So as you can see, the arm is right here, and sometimes the stitches get a little big because it is the arm, and you have all this yarn here for your tail. I mean, not your tail, but to sew up your seam of your sleeve. You can take advantage of it and maybe slip it through there and slip it through there and kind of tighten it up a little bit, and then do your blanket stitch all the way down and finish it off. As you can see, you have more than enough thread to finish off the sleeve. So the next part, I'm all tangled up here. The next part I will show you, oh, I forgot. Once you do this, I'll take this one. Once you do the, go back, you want to stick a marker in the first row of your body of the stockinette section, because you want to be able to measure and make the body whatever length the pattern calls for, whether it's 4 inches, 5 inches, but you'll do it from that marker just like you did on the sleeve. You have your marker there, and then you knit to wherever your marker is there, whether it's 5 inches, 6 inches, or whatever the case may be. All right, so now we're finished with the body, and we've got our marker, and we've done under the arm. This is the extra for that. Now what you will do is start your decorative stitch at the bottom of the body. See, this is what we just did. You're talking about picking up the stitches in the sleeve, which we did, and knit across the back, then pick up the other stitches in the second sleeve and continue. Then you place your safety pin in the center, like I showed you. Then you come down to this part and you keep working in stockinette stitch with your garter on each end of the border. In this case, it was for a 4-inch newborn, so it was 12 rows. But I need to take that out. That was just what I had done as a reminder for me. Or you work the stockinette stitch within 1.5 inches of the bottom. So if you know your whole baby sweater has to be 6.5 inches, you want to stop at 5. That gives you the 1.5 inches to do your decorative stitch. And right here on 13, it actually starts your decorative stitch again. Do 13, 14, and repeat 17, but up there. I've got something kind of off kilter here. But when I put this pattern on the internet, it will be correct. But let's start with what we have to start with. The first row is knit 3, knit 2 together, repeat across to the last 4 stitches. So we want to do that. Let's get this out of the way. Okay, so we knit 3. This is the exact same pattern that we did for the yoke. And I'll double check and make sure I have everything in proper order when I put mine out there. But you do have the option to pick up several other variations. Like I showed you in the very first video, the first 5 places popped up as soon as you Googled it, and just asked for the 5-hour baby sweater. So as you can see, I'm knitting every row. knitting two together all the way across. I just have to remember how I did this because I've got to double check that part. It's actually the same repetitive that you did on the sleeve. So however you did the sleeve is how this body will be done. So then you would follow the pattern and make it, and then you would bind off loosely. And after you bind off loosely, then you will sew your sleeves together. And if you had a buttonhole here, you would attach a button. If you don't have a buttonhole, like I don't have a buttonhole on this one, you can weave ribbon in and out this eyelet you did on the top to finish it off. Thank you for watching my videos. Please subscribe if you'd like to see more and share them with your friends. Also, leave comments below.